But the only time I ever saw a face was in that one instance when I just described with the three little grays and then the taller one. I drew a picture of the taller one afterwards, and when I drew the picture, I drew it with his hands folded like this. I don't know why I did that. I had no concept of mantis beings at that point. I mean, we're talking, this was just right at the very beginning. I didn't know they even existed. And later, when I did find out about mantis beings and I looked at the drawing, I realized that was a mantis being. That was not a gray. He was very, very tall. And the triangular face is not the shape of a gray face. The little grays they weren't wider than they were tall. And that's this taller gray, that's what he looked like. It was this huge triangular face with a big bug eyes. It's possible that this mantis being put that image in my head so that I wouldn't completely freak out. At least it was a semblance of something that I, was, I guess, somewhat familiar because I had seen drawings of grays, other places. But now I know that was a mantis being. And over time, I have developed a relationship with that mantis being. And yeah, we've gotten pretty close. Yeah. I get the sense that there's a team. And it's not just me. Each one of us, especially starseeds, I think we each have a team of individuals, of beings who maybe some of them just work with us and only us, but we also share. There are some of these beings who come and go, and we share them with other people. Like I know this is true of the mantis being that I am friends with. He comes around, he stays for periods of time, and then he goes, and then he comes back. And so that's kind of how I see it. And I have been able, on occasion, to feel going through a healing process as I'm meditating. Just like having light and energy and just this, pouring into my body. And I can tell that it's coming from a source outside of myself. It's really becoming that clear. So that started developing. Also, my telepathic abilities started developing. And I started to have interactions with, especially the mantis being, would show up in my mind's eye quite vividly and just give me information that I didn't understand at the time, and would come to me like I'm driving down the street and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I get it. And it would be this really profound concept of some sort. So, that it just started to expand my mind and my understanding, I guess. The telepathic communications that I have with these beings now, it was pretty surprising at first, but because it's been an ongoing thing, I've sort of, I guess, integrated that in my life, and it's no longer something novel. It's like, this is the way we should all be communicating. It feels more natural to me to communicate that way. And sometimes I get frustrated trying to communicate with words, trying to explain, some concept that I'm trying to explain. And it feels like, they call it a thought ball. The way that these other beings communicate telepathically, it's like I get this thought ball that contains information, emotions, all sorts of different things all at once. And so if I try to speak about it, it almost feels like this ball of yarn. I'm trying to, I guess, unwind it into yarn that I can give to somebody else, and they don't get the ball of yarn. They just get this pile of tangled up string now, because the information that I get in this thought ball is not linear. So trying to put it in linear terms, with linear language, it really, a lot gets lost in the translation. a lot of it gets lost in the translation. So that's, that's a little, I guess, frustrating because, I'm frustrated with trying to write things in my journal. Let's put it that way. So I've given up trying to keep track of this stuff just because it loses the specialness of it, gets lost in translation.
You sent me like 3 drawings of Chico the Mantid, I believe.
Yeah.
Like that being the Mantid that came to you earlier on.
Yeah. Chica's from the Council of Eight, and we have grown to be really, really good friends. So the drawing just sort of evolved. Though I think the one where it's like the full figure, that one, I think that was the first one that I drew. Yeah, that was the first one that I drew of him because he showed up again during a meditation course and surprised me. I was meditating and I felt, I used to get panic attacks when I meditated, not in daily life, but while I meditated. And it was very difficult to work through them. And so I felt this panic attack rising during meditation. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, this being showed up and said, "Gotcha," as if I was falling off a cliff into despair, which is what it was feeling like. The panic was like I was falling into this dark abyss. And just like that, like he flipped a switch, the fear turned into overwhelming, compassionate love. And I don't get panic attacks anymore during meditation. I feel this overwhelming compassion love. It's almost like he rewired my brain somehow in that moment. And it was very surprising. And I wanted to portray him somehow in a way that felt kind and gentle because I didn't see his face. I got the sense that he was a mantis being, but I didn't have a clear understanding of his face. What really resonated with me was the purple, like a purple shimmering. And I wanted to, convey he felt very elegant and regal, even though I didn't see him. I did get to see his face later on. And that's when the drawing where it's just his face with all of the white and gray doodles around him. That's what I saw, actually, when I first saw his face in my mind's eye. I was just watering my plants on my balcony, minding my own business, and all of a sudden, in my mind's eye, there's this huge bug head with the mandibles open. I mean, the image is horrifying. But simultaneously, there's this feeling of being loved, intense feeling of this being is loving me. And I know that this was not my imagination, number one, because I was wide awake, and number two, because I would never connect that horrible image of a bug about to eat me with the sense of feeling love. Those, that just it's not something I would naturally do. And so that's how I knew that there was a presence there in my mind. And what followed afterwards was pretty spectacular. For a good 30 minutes, I actually felt my consciousness. I felt how infinite my consciousness is, and how everything that I perceive, from palm trees to grass to cars, is actually made of my own consciousness. I got to understand how all of my reality is a reflection of myself. And I'm not even talking about my consciousness. I'm talking a reflection of Aurora. I don't have that understanding in this moment when I'm speaking about it, but it was absolutely mind-blowing. In fact, it was so intense, I came in back inside from the balcony to tell my husband, I don't know what's happening to me, but it feels like I'm getting enlightened or something. I had no idea what to do with that, but it was very enjoyable, very mind-opening. And that's why I really love Chica. It's because I've had those types of experiences with him a few times, several times. Sometimes I'm just in my car waiting to pick up my kid from school. And all of a sudden, the universe opens up and there's Chica, you know. The last time I saw him was actually this past, it was in November. Again, I was at a meditation course and he popped in my mind while I was meditating just to say hello. I hadn't seen him in a while. But when I walked back to my room, I couldn't believe it. Right outside my door on the ground, there was an actual praying mantis. And it was big. It was like this big. I had never seen one in the wild. And this was in Georgia, so they're native to that part of the country. They like that climate. And I took a picture of him. He was looking right at me. It's like he turned his head as he saw me walking. He was huge. It was looking right at me as I took his picture, and I knew that was, Chica in mantis form in 3D. It was so sweet of him. I mean, I just started crying, It was very, very, very sweet. Very sweet. I love Chica. He's pretty awesome.